is he has failed a couple of drug tests. To me, that rules you out of being the best of all time.
Really?
For me personally, yeah, I think.
Does it make him a cheat?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah.
John Jones never backed down from that fight. That is not accurate. That was misreported. John Jones never said no to that fight.
The night before Pereira versus Ankalaev, and I'm only telling you that because if they had not got that deal done, then Pereira would have, in fact, been a pawn on the board. He would, in fact, right now, even off a loss, be a heavyweight.
I feel like Tom Aspinall is, I don't want to say nobody, but he just hasn't proven anything. He hasn't done anything.
Tom's 31, in the prime of his life, and I would be very surprised, and this sounds disrespectful, but I'd be very surprised if he got out the first round.
Really?
Yep.
After all the wait, Chael Sonnen has confirmed that both Aspinall and John Jones have verbally agreed to fight and are just waiting for a date from UFC. However, the drama doesn't end here, as Tom Aspinall has denied calling John Jones a great because of his past drug issue. Tom Aspinall didn't hesitate to admit that John Jones is elite, but he firmly said John is not the greatest. Why? Because he took drugs. Tom made it clear, failing drug tests takes you out of the GOAT conversation. He said using performance-enhancing drugs is straight up cheating if your opponent is clean. Even though he doesn't believe John was on steroids specifically, PEDs are still PEDs, and that gives you an unfair edge. In Tom's book, greatness isn't just about winning, it's about doing it the right way.
John, let me first start by saying John is absolutely elite, and I completely agree with the notion that he's one of the best fighters ever.
Is he the greatest?
Potentially, but the way that I look at it is he has failed a couple of drug tests. To me, that rules you out of being the best of all time.
Really?
For me personally, yeah, I think.
Does it make him a cheat?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah. If you're on steroids or whatever, I don't think he was on steroids, but he was on PEDs, performance enhancing drugs. If you're on PEDs and your opponent isn't, that's absolutely cheating in my book, unless you're both allowed to do it.
Tom Aspinall says he's never taken anything and never would. After retirement, he might consider testosterone replacement for health reasons. He believes PEDs have no place in MMA and shouldn't be used while competing. If John Jones is clean now, he's fine with fighting him. He's unsure how John will react to being called a cheat, but thinks John can be a bit sensitive.
You've never taken anything like
Absolutely not.
that? You never would?
When I retire, I will, yeah. Absolutely, to keep my body healthy, and your body stops producing testosterone after a while. To be a healthy older gentleman, I'll probably do some kind of testosterone replacement.
You're suggesting I should be pumping the steroids?
So. No, I don't think you should be on steroids, but I think I don't know a lot about the subject, to be honest. But I think when you fight in MMA, you absolutely shouldn't be using PEDs. No.
So should he even be allowed to fight you?
Yeah, if he's not using them now, yeah. Yeah, I think so, yeah, absolutely.
How do you think he'll feel when he sees you calling him a cheat on Uncensored?
I don't know. That's his
Do you
prerogative.
care?
No, I'm not bothered. John Jones seems to get his feelings hurt a little bit.
On the other hand, the UFC Hall of Famer Chael Sonnen has confirmed that the fight between John Jones and Tom Aspinall is essentially set, contrary to what some media reports have suggested. He emphasized that both athletes have agreed to the fight, but the company hasn't finalized a date yet. Sonnen shot down the idea that Jones is backing down, stating that it was misreported. According to Sonnen, Jones never said no to the fight, but rather talked about negotiating for a $30 million payday. He made it clear that Jones never flinched or backed out of the fight.
Jones and Aspinall, is that going to be announced soon?
Yes, Jones and Aspinall is done. It's actually, contrary to the media, the athletes have agreed. It's the company doesn't have a date yet. The athletes, John Jones never backed down from that fight. That is not accurate. That was misreported. John Jones never said no to that fight. He talked about he was going to negotiate and he needed $30 million. He never got the phone call where he flinched, just so you know.
Before that, Chael Sonnen also gave a huge insider about the John Jones versus Tom Aspinall fight. He reveals that both fighters verbally agreed to fight before UFC 313, and that's why Alex Pereira didn't move up a division. He emphasized that this was something no one else had reported. According to Chael, if that deal hadn't come together, Alex Pereira would have been moved up to heavyweight even after a loss. The only reason that didn't happen, and why a rematch with Ankalaev is now even being considered, is because the UFC got the Jones versus Aspinall fight in place.
With John Jones and Aspinall, at least verbally, the night before, this is inside information. You will not have heard the story anywhere else.
Wow,
They
thank
got the
you.
deal done verbally the night before Piera versus Ankalaev, and I'm only telling you that because if they had not got that deal done, then Piera would have in fact been a pawn on the board. He would in fact right now, even off a loss, be a heavyweight. And they would have got him out of the division completely. And the only reason that was no longer needed, opening the idea to a rematch with Ankalaev, a fight that wasn't heavily anticipated in the first place, is because they ended up getting that piece of business done. I just think that that's very fascinating.
Michael Bisping also said that he believes this fight will happen in 2025, but he didn't have any inside information. It seems like Jon Jones is up for it, and the UFC wants it too. According to Bisping, they even told Tom Aspinall it's a done deal. He thinks it would be a real shame if the fight didn't happen. He hopes the fight happens, whether it's $30 million, $20 million, or $25 million, and Bisping believes the demand for this fight will definitely be there.
Well, I definitely believe the fight will happen this year. Seems like Jones is up for it. It seems like the UFC want it to happen. I mean, they said to Tom Aspinall, it's a done deal, it's going to happen. And it would just be such a shame if that fight didn't happen. I think it's going to happen International Fight Week, Las Vegas 2025. But what do I know? I'm not basing that on any inside information. Excuse me. I'm not basing that on any inside information. I know what you know. When Joe Rogan said apparently he wants 30 million, good for him. You know, I hope he gets paid that money. You know, I hope he does, and I hope we get to see the fight. And if it isn't 30 million, maybe it's around that. Maybe it's 20 million, 25, maybe it's more, like you say. You know, I think the demand for this fight will be there. I think it's incredible that in this day and age, we're talking about these kind of fight purses being involved in mixed martial arts.
Michael Bisping further talked about their fight and praised Tom Aspinall, calling him the greatest mixed martial artist the sport has ever seen. He believes Aspinall is the new breed of fighter, the future of the sport. While Jon Jones is undeniably great and has an unbeaten record, Bisping pointed out that everyone eventually meets their match. In his opinion, Aspinall is that match. He highlighted Aspinall's exceptional speed, agility, and technical skills, which set him apart from most heavyweights who tend to be strong and powerful but lack the same finesse.
Who wins? Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. I've actually had Tom Aspinall on the channel. And Tom's a small favourite, isn't he?
Yeah, no, and he should be. He should be. Listen, Jon Jones is great, and you can't deny what he's done in the octagon, the career that he's had, and he's technically unbeaten. However, you know, everyone meets their match eventually. And I think Tom Aspinall's the new generation, he's the new breed, and he'll go down probably as the greatest mixed martial arts that we've ever had. He's elite as a heavyweight. A lot of the heavyweights, they're good, they're very strong, they're powerful, but they're not as quick and as agile and as technical as Tom.
Michael Bisping described Tom Aspinall as the whole package, comparing him to a heavyweight version of George St. Pierre, one of the greatest to ever compete. He praised Aspinall for having no weak areas, with knockout power, discipline, agility, and quick finishes. However, Bisping pointed out that Aspinall hasn't faced someone like Jon Jones yet, as the competition in the heavyweight division isn't as technically skilled. While Jones has fought tougher opponents, Bisping noted that Jones has never faced anyone like Aspinall, someone with his size and ability to generate that level of power.
Tom's the whole package. You know, he's like, there's a fighter called George St. Pierre, who's one of the greatest to ever do it. Tom's like a heavyweight George St. Pierre. He's got no weak areas. He's got absolute knockout power, super disciplined, super agile on the feet. He finishes everyone really, really quickly. However, he hasn't gone up against somebody like Jon Jones because, as I said, the competition in the heavyweight division isn't necessarily there on a technical level. Jon Jones is, and Jon Jones has fought way better competition than Tom. That's just a fact. But Jon's never fought anyone like Tom either. Jon has never fought anyone the size of Tom, and that can generate that kind of power.
On the other hand, Ilia Topuria said he doesn't think Jon Jones will come back for a fight. However, Joe Rogan was more skeptical, suggesting that Jones might return to achieved glory before retirement. In a recent podcast with Joe Rogan and Ilia Topuria expressed their thoughts about this fight and acknowledged Jon's legacy, calling him the greatest of all time and a conqueror. Rogan believes Jones might fight Aspinall for the huge payday, but pointed out that while Aspinall is an incredible fighter but never been tested in deep waters.
He's gonna come back, he's gonna fight Tom?
Yes, I think he'll fight Tom. Don't think so? Really?
For what?
For glory.
He already has the glory.
Yeah, one more glory before the lights fade. I think Jon's a conqueror.
He's the best of all time.
I think he fights Aspinall because I think it's going to be a lot of money. Aspinall's amazing, fast as for a heavyweight, black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he's never been in deep water.
You can't count him out at all, to Tom Aspinall, but I don't think that he's gonna come back.
Meanwhile, despite all this hype, Jon Jones isn't interested in a fight with Tom Aspinall. He said there's really nothing that would get him excited about facing him. He finds Aspinall annoying and pointed out that while he's been around for so long, Aspinall only recently made it to the UFC. Jones questioned where Aspinall had been all this time. He also stated that Aspinall doesn't have a standout legacy, mentioning that the only notable win he has is against an aging Andrei Arlovski. For Jones, there's nothing about Aspinall that stands out or excites him. He sees him as just another up-and-comer who wouldn't add anything to his legacy.
The specter of Tom Aspinall is kind of in the background of this fight. It's hard to ignore. What would it take for you to be like really interested in that fight?
Really nothing. You know, I find him annoying, and I mean, he just, you know, I've been here for so long. He just got to the UFC not too long ago, and if he wanted to fight me, he could have been here. I was like, where have you been all this time? At the end of the day, he has no real standout legacy. I think the only guy he beat was Andrei Arlovski. Andrei was very old at the time. He really has nothing that entices me. Nothing. He reminds me of a bunch of other up-and-comers that I fought that it does nothing for my legacy. Really nothing.
However, Tom Aspinall believes Jon Jones is definitely ducking him. He admitted it clearly, saying there's an easier path available for Jon, and he understands why Jon would take it. Bigger fights with less risk and more money. Still, despite understanding the business side of it, Aspinall is certain, in his honest opinion, Jon is avoiding a fight with him.
Do you think Jon is ducking you?
Yes.
Was that Tom?
I think, I said, yeah, he is. He definitely is. I think that there's just an easier path for him. And I understand it. I do understand it completely. I understand that there's bigger fights out there for him with way less risk and way more money. I understand it. But in all honesty, do I think he's ducking me? Absolutely.
British former professional strongman Eddie Hall also agrees that Jones is ducking Aspinall. Talking about their fight, he said if Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall were locked in a room, only Aspinall would walk out. He respects Jones's incredible record, but is convinced he's 100% ducking Tom. Hall pointed out that Jones has hinted at retiring after his next fight, avoiding a matchup with Aspinall. To him, Jones can say whatever he wants, but at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words.
Honestly, I think if you put Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall in a room, and said one man leaves, I think Tom Aspinall leaves that room. I genuinely do. I think, and I think Jon Jones, I mean, I can't badmouth the guy. He's got an amazing record, but he's definitely ducking Tom Aspinall, 100%. And I think he's even said he doesn't want to fight Tom Aspinall after his next fight. He's pretty much going to retire after this fight, so he's ducking Tom Aspinall. I mean, he can say what he wants, but actions speak louder than words.
Moreover, Jon Jones completely dismisses Tom Aspinall's rise, saying he hasn't achieved enough to earn a fight with him. Jones said Aspinall hasn't proven anything yet. He pointed out that Aspinall's biggest win was against Sergey Pavlovich, who was recently dominated by another fighter. For Jones, it's not about giving someone else a chance to make a name off of him. He's focused on building a legacy. He wants his resume to be filled with legends and champions, fighters that people will still talk about a decade from now.
I feel like Tom Aspinall is, I don't want to say nobody, but he just hasn't proven anything. He hasn't done anything. And I understand that. I mean, he won his belt against Sergey. Sergey just got slaughtered by someone else. So it's just like, I'm not here to gamble someone else making a name off of me. I'm here to compete against the guys where when we look back, 10 years from now, it'd be like Jon Jones fought this guy and that guy and this legend and this champion and this champion.
Jon Jones isn't buying into the hype around Tom Aspinall. He said he remembers when everyone thought Johnny Walker was the guy to beat him. And while he means no disrespect, we've all seen how Walker's career turned out. Jones said he's been around too long to get excited about someone just because they're popular right now. He's not here to take random fights. He's focused on building a legacy and fighting proven names, not giving others a chance to make a name off him.
I remember a time when the whole world thought Johnny Walker was going to be the guy to beat me. And no disrespect for Johnny Walker, but I mean, we all have seen the way his career's played out. I've just been here too long to get all excited about someone who's hot today. I'm here for legacy. I've been gambling for way too long to just take random fights.
So Jon Jones has no interest in fighting Aspinall, as he calls him an asshole. Jones clearly said that he has no plans to do business with the Englishman.
But if I'm being completely honest, I feel like Tom's been such an asshole that I don't want to do business with him.
Tom Aspinall responded to Jon Jones, calling him an asshole with calm honesty. He admitted that, like anyone, he can be one sometimes, but found it funny coming from Jon. After his last win in Manchester, when given the chance to call out Jones, Aspinall kept it respectful, and according to Daniel Cormier, that respectful approach makes the insult feel out of place.
I do have to ask you about these reports of you being an asshole. Are they true?
Sometimes, yeah. Yes, I think everybody is sometimes.
The craziest thing was when Tom won the last fight in Manchester, I go, Tom, what do you want to say to the champ, Jon Jones? And Tom goes, Jon, you're a really nice fella, and I would love to fight you. And then Jon's like, this guy's a
That's why it's so funny to hear Jon saying that. He's like the nicest guy on the planet. You're the exact opposite of your countryman, Michael Bisping. You're a genuinely nice person, you know?
Aspinall has been positive about all such tactics from Jon Jones. He also gave a similar reaction about Jones's statement in another interview, calmly acknowledging that everyone can be an a-hole at times. Aspinall expressed uncertainty about Jones's actions, suggesting that Jones might be trying to find ways to avoid the fight, using tricks to stay away. He also raised the possibility that Jones could be trying to build up the fight for later.
Because this week he hasn't been complimentary. He's got quite personal. He's called you an a-hole. What is your response to that, Tom? How do you feel? Because you have not been disrespectful. If anything, you've been the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Everyone's a bit of an a-hole sometimes, let's be honest.
Oh, sure.
But I don't think I was.
You haven't.
I don't
You
think I
haven't
was
lowered
in this.
yourself.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think he's trying to do anything he can to stay away from me, trying to come up with all the tricks in the book, or is he building up the fight down the line? That's the question. Because
meanwhile, Tom Aspinall got more confident than ever after witnessing the previous fight of Jon Jones live from the octagon. Seeing Jon up close for the first time, just feet from the octagon, gave him a whole new perspective. He'd only watched Jones on TV before, but witnessing him live at the back end of his career was eye-opening. Apart from Jones' speed, Aspinall didn't seem overly impressed. He kept things measured, saying he didn't want to reveal too much, but you could tell he saw something that made him believe the gap isn't as wide as people think.
I've only seen Jon Jones fight on the TV before. This is the first time I've ever seen him up close. And I was sitting, you couldn't have got any closer. You know what I mean? I was almost in arm's length from the UFC octagon. You guys know it is way different watching it on TV and watching it up close. And I am so happy that I got to see an up close version of what Jon Jones looks like at 37, 38 years old on the back end of his career, and I'm very satisfied.
What stood out?
Just the speed. There is no chance that I don't want to say too much, you know what I mean?
I gotcha.
When asked by Chael Sonnen if there are openings for takedowns against Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall confidently said he sees everything. Whether he can actually pull it off in the cage is another question, but from the outside looking in, he believes the opportunities are there. He gave Jon full respect, calling him one of the best ever, maybe even the greatest, as both Dana White and Jon himself claim. Still, Aspinall thinks there are clear openings, and while he knows it's different once you're in there, he believes he has what it takes.
Do you see opportunities for takedowns? I've just noticed that people are never trying to take him down. Do you see an opportunity where they should at least threaten the takedown?
Absolutely. I see everything. Whether I can do it in there, Jon Jones is one of the best to ever do it. Arguably the best. Arguably the greatest of all time, as Dana White says, and as Jon Jones says himself. But I definitely see openings. Whether I can do it or not, Chael, you've been in there yourself.
It's fair.
I don't know. But from the outside looking in, I think I can.
On the other hand, Daniel Cormier has suggested that Jon Jones might fight Tom Aspinall better if he weighed around 215 pounds instead of 250. He believes Jones would be more effective at his natural weight, as 250 pounds isn't his ideal weight class. Cormier pointed out that while Jones didn't last long against Cyril Gane, he didn't seem as fast and struggled with the extra weight. He added that Gane did some unusual things in the fight, but ultimately Jones doesn't make mistakes, and the extra weight wasn't helping him.
I bet if he's weighing 215, he would fight Tom Aspinall better than him weighing 245 pounds. In his 205 frame, he could fight Tom Aspinall better than he'd fight him at that 250 because that's not his weight class. While he didn't last long with Cyril, he didn't look as fast.
The UFC welterweight champion, Bilal Muhammad, believes Tom Aspinall is likely the toughest challenge Jon Jones would face a stronger, faster fighter from the new generation. He thinks Jones could beat him, but only if the fight is truly worth it. Bilal expects Dana White to make the fight happen, knowing how much money it could bring. But from Jones's perspective, with nothing left to prove, Bilal says it's not worth it unless the payday is huge $30 to $50 million. Given the choice, he thinks Jones would rather fight Alex Pereira first.
If I'm Jon Jones, like a lot of people consider him the GOAT, the best fighter ever do it. The next hungry lion is Aspinall. It's probably the toughest fight that he'll have. Like this guy's the next generation. He's a lot stronger, a lot faster. But I think Jon Jones is good enough to beat him. But it's like it has to be worth it. The fans are fickle, right? You lose one fight, they're gonna, oh, he sucks. Right? They just care about your last win or your last loss. I think Dana White and them will end up making it. Dana White's a smart businessman. He knows how much money that fight would make. If I'm Jon Jones, you've already done everything in the sport. It's not worth it unless it's that $30 million, $50 million payday. If I'm Jon Jones, I'm picking out Pereira first over Aspinall.
Former UFC champion Demetrius Johnson also praised Tom Aspinall and believes he has what it takes to beat Jon Jones. He's always admired Jones for his ability to dominate anyone he faced, doing whatever he wanted in the cage. But he acknowledged that Jon is getting older and doesn't fight the same way he used to. While Johnson still thinks Jones can win, he sees a fight with Aspinall as much tougher than most. He doesn't believe Jon is ducking Tom, but admits that Aspinall is a young, hungry champion and clearly the harder fight.
Tom Aspinall. Is he really good?
I think he's good.
He can beat Jon?
Jon has always been my favorite fighter to watch because I felt like any person he fought, he can do whatever he wanted to them. Body's, getting older and older, doesn't, fight like he used to. So I think Jon can beat him, but I think it's a way harder fight if he fought Tom.
You don't think he's ducking Tom?
I think Jon is going to beat him, but the harder fight, without a doubt, I believe, is a young, hungry champion, Tom Aspinall.
Alexander Volkov also believes Tom Aspinall deserves the heavyweight title more than Jon Jones. In his view, people can say Jon is a great fighter or that he could beat Tom, but the reality is Aspinall won the belt and waited for the opportunity. Volkov feels Aspinall has earned it.
Do you view Tom Aspinall as the actual heavyweight champion, or do you still think it's Jon Jones?
In my opinion, Tom more deserves the champion belt in heavyweight than Jon Jones. I can say Jon Jones is a bad fighter or he can't beat Tom Aspinall, but the way Tom Aspinall takes this belt in heavyweight, Tom Aspinall deserves it more.
So the stage is set, the stakes are high, and the opinions are louder than ever. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall might just be the most talked about fight that hasn't happened yet. With legends weighing in and legacy on the line, the MMA world is holding its breath. Whether it's about greatness, money, or pride, one thing's clear. This isn't just a fight, it's a moment that could define an era. Will it happen? Only time and the UFC will tell.